Hi everybody. A lot of car radios find their way into my workshop, but sometimes there are some highlights which I want to show you one of them of. It's not the normal run-of-the-mill car radio which you have here. It's a Becker Nürburg, and it was fitted to the Mercedes 300 series, Adenauer Mercedes 300 also called, and the radio itself, rumor has it that the chancellor back then, Konrad Adenauer, asked Mercedes whether they could supply him with a car radio, and Becker was the main supplier for Mercedes, the in-house supplier, and the Mercedes people passed this on to Becker, and they came up with this car radio. So it's basically something like a how should I call it? Well, Zenith Transoceanic for cars, a world receiver. And to elaborate a bit on this, it's got a revolving tuner, or a turret tuner, as some would call it. So when you change wave bands, then all coils. This means that's the first RF stage. Then comes the RF amplifier tube, second RF input stage, and then this is for the local oscillator. They are all tuned, pre-tuned, and run across the contacts, which you can see here, which makes it extremely selective. Like this is high tech. Of course, in the front you have a drum, then which will of course show you the wave band and the stations. It's a lot of grand old stations. Andorra, no longer on the air. Berlin, no longer on air. What do we have here? Stuttgart, no longer on air. BBC London, nah, they're all gone. RIAS Berlin, that's Radio in Amerikanische Sektor Berlin, gone. AFN Stuttgart, gone. They're all gone. So now what do we have here? Johannesburg, cheapest. Santiago, Brazzaville. Well, that used to be the Congo. Gee. San Francisco. Wow. No, all gone. So, anywho's, this radio came in, and it was basically just buzzing and crackling because the owner had given it to a local radio and TV repair shop. They'd started recapping it, and done a pretty good job up to a certain extent, and then basically stopped it. I don't know why. I have no idea, because one of the most important things which needed to be done was replacing the main smoothing capacitor for the high voltage. Look here, it's full of crumbly residue, and it was shorting out the high voltage power. I was wondering why the rectifier was getting so hot, and proved to be that it was totally defective. So if ever you see one of these, just replace it. And even if you do it like I did it, two capacitors, two electrolytics, and bomb them next to each other, fasten them to the chassis somehow, and it'll work at least. The second thing was the vibrator unit. The contacts were completely burnt, and there's no way, even with a file to regrinding them and adjusting them and so on and so forth. Nah, it'll give you 20 hours extra, and then it'll be the same problem again. So I replaced it with two transistors on a circuit board, and put them into a valve socket, and just shove them in there. And now the contacts are emulated by transistors. They work. They'll be trouble-free for the rest of the life of the car radio. Functions perfectly. Bang, end of story. And so I'll just fire it up. Just to show. And oh, by the way, some of those units, they had a magic eye down there, the first couple of them, but you know, later on it was abandoned because it, you know, there's no use having a magic eye in a car radio because it's gonna you know, be of no use adjusting to your station because you're on the move anyway. So it was disbanded in favor of adding an extra amplifying tube in the RF section. But you know, sadly, tuning around here in Europe, there are no stations on the air anymore. There's just, you know, you have static. You can tune to wherever you want. You know, there's just nothing left, sadly. You know, and such a grand old radio. The owner asked me if I could do something about it, and I did. So look here. I added an FM pre-stage. Now works perfectly on FM as well, because FM was, you know, this radio never had it. And it's something I'm going to do to the second one as well, which is here. Take a note. This one has a completely different dial. It just has the frequencies on it. So when I tune, it just has frequency numbers, no radio stations. So this one was for the export. And another interesting thing is, no two of them are the same. So if I use the power supply, let me take the new fascia off, you know, off this one, and put it on this radio, it's not going to function, and vice versa. So Becker made so many different versions of this, although they only made a few radios in total. It's something to watch out for. If you get a radio and you buy a power supply from another one, it's not going to guarantee that it's going to work. You have to watch out there. And I've done quite a couple of these, and every single one of them seems to be different. If you look, the dial cord on this one versus the dial cord on this one, how it's run, it's totally different. No two are the same. Strange. That's an odd radio, and like sort of you have to adapt to everyone like you do it. But I'm glad I got this one going, and the other one is the next one, which is due for the FM conversion. And I'm just going to pause the movie for a second and show you what I actually did to convert it. So here we go. Popped it on its side. And here you can see the FM converter. And basically what it does, it needs a signal from the local oscillator tube, which is here, runs in there, and that tells it where it's on the scale, whether it's on the bottom of the dial, in the middle, on the top, and converts the 53 to 1600 kilohertz to 88 to 108 megahertz, and then feeds it in via the loudspeaker potentiometer into the audio amp on that set. Of course, aerial is also connected. Those are the two blue wires, and that makes it radio totally FM compatible without too much intrusion. So you're not butchering it or anything like that. You know, it's half an hour's job to put it in, and it still uses the valves or the tubes as originally intended, but offers the FM compatibility as well, and makes an old radio like that, which otherwise would be useless because it can't receive anymore and there's no more stations left. Give it a new lease of life on a FM, and that's basically what the owner wanted, and that's why got for him to do. So thanks very much for watching, and see you sometime soon.